Welcome to our 6th annual Purple Party. I'd like to thank everyone for attending, and I'd like to acknowledge our distinguished guests. I know that Judge Ober is present, so thank you, Judge Ober, for always supporting domestic violence and everything that we do with Are You Safe in the Spring of Tampa Bay. We appreciate your continued support. Domestic violence is a devastating social problem that impacts every segment of our population. While the system response are primarily focused or targeted towards adult victims, we are now seeing that there's an increase in attention and focusing that attention towards children. Since we've seen such a prevalent issue with domestic violence and the impact that it has on children, Are You Safe within the last year has in fact focused a lot of our attention to that, to children in our community, and trying to focus a lot of our efforts in determining what is the impact of domestic violence on children and what can we do as an organization to really help those around us. At this time, I'm going to present Jason Valkenberg, who is our president of Are You Safe, and my husband, so I'm always proud to present him. And he's going to talk to you about our efforts within the last year and everything that we've been able to accomplish and some of the programs that we've implemented to really help our community as well as the children that are impacted and affected by domestic violence. So without further ado, I introduce Jason Valkenberg.
Thank you. I always have a much louder voice than you do. That's okay, at least everybody back here will be able to hear me. Well, first of all, I would like to thank Miriam and Christine and everybody else in the Purple Party Committee for doing such a great job on the venue tonight and on the function tonight. You guys did an awesome job. Everything's fabulous. Thank you. I would also like to thank the board members that are here today and the ones that are not here today, because without the board members, Are You Safe would not be able to do what we're able to do throughout the year with the golf tournament and with the Purple Party and all the functions that we do. So I would like to thank Corey Baird, Natalie Baird, Miriam Valkenberg, obviously, Patty Evans, who's not here with us today, Christine Durr, Kristen DeMayo, Joe Marshburn, and John Corso. Thank you all for all your hard work. I would also like to thank a new addition to Are You Safe that we just recently had last year, who has been a huge help and who's been basically the person on my right hand side whenever I needed help, whenever I needed to get things done. Our new executive director, Christine Boulis. She has been able to take Are You Safe and to a whole nother level and been able to do things with Are You Safe that we would not be able to do without her. And I thank you very much for everything you've done this year. And then last but not least, I would like to thank everybody here for coming and participating in the function that we're having today. Because without you coming here today, and without your participation here today, we would not be able to do what it is that we do. It's amazing the things that we've been able to accomplish in the last 5 years or last 6 years. It's amazing to see what we've gone from 4 good friends who started a small organization who is going to provide free legal services to domestic violence victims to an organization that now advocates, educates, and empowers victims of domestic violence. And it's because everybody here today that we're able to do that. So I thank everybody here for showing up today. I really do appreciate it. Now, I mentioned advocating, educating, and empowering victims of domestic violence. That's the tenets of Are You Safe? And we advocate, obviously, for the victims of domestic violence by providing free legal services to the victims of domestic violence. And we do that by having volunteer attorneys that come forward and take the cases that for injunctions. When the domestic violence victim files for an injunction, we have attorneys that take those cases. When we're unable to find a volunteer attorney, we also have contract attorneys that we can send those cases. So we went from an organization in the beginning that was only able to take about 50 to 60% of the cases that came our way, to now we were able to take 100% of the cases that come our way because of our volunteer attorneys and our contract attorneys. So we have literally grown so much in the last 6 years. And since 2009, we have provided over 1,000 hours of free legal services and provided attorneys to over 100 DV victims. So in the last 6 years, that is huge. This year alone, we've done over 300 hours of free legal services and 25 injunctions this year alone. Educating. Like I said, when we first started out, we started out just providing free legal services. And after a couple of years, thankfully, Natalie Baird was able to secure a grant for us to start providing educational services. And through that grant, we have been able to provide educational services to the public, teaching the public about domestic violence, how to recognize it, and what to do when you see it. And through the grants that we've gotten through Natalie Baird, we have been able to provide over 100 educational programs in the last 6 years, with 20 of those being in this year alone. And through doing the advocating and educating, as an organization you grow and you learn more about domestic violence, because some of us knew a lot about domestic violence when we got into this organization, and many, like myself, knew very little about it. And as you into domestic violence more, you learn that there's more people affected by it than you realize. And people are affected by it in so many different ways. And we thought to ourselves, like, well, we're advocating by helping these people get out of the relationships that they're in. We're educating the public and the community about domestic violence to try and prevent it, but we're not really empowering the victims. And the best thing we can do is empower the victim, because if we empower a victim and help them become a survivor, then we help them get out of that relationship that they're in. We can reduce the chances of the victim going back to the abuser. We can reduce the chance that the victim enters into another abusive relationship. And we can reduce the chance that the children in the relationship become the abusers themselves. And we can reduce the emotional, behavioral, and social impacts the abuse has on the children involved in that relationship. So by thinking of that, we decided, well, and this was one of Christine Boulis's big ideas this year, and we were reluctant to do it at first, but she took it on herself and really pushed it forward. And so what we started doing was we really started a mental health program, and she really spearheaded herself. And this year, we started it this year, and this year alone, we've been able to provide 75 hours of counseling to domestic violence victims and their children, and including 12 individuals, 5 of those which are children. And by being involved in the organization and coming to find out things, you find out that, yes, the adults are many times the ones that they're the victims, but a lot of times, even if a child is not the victim directly, they may not necessarily be the one being abused, but they're still the victim because they're still either viewing that abuse or they're involved in that abuse somehow. So what we've done this year is try to focus our attention on the children. So even if they're not necessarily directly involved in the violence, we want to make sure that we can somehow help the children, because they're truly the victims, and because they have no way to get out of this relationship. So we've learned a lot through that, and what what I've learned and what we've learned is that even if they're not truly the victims themselves, they're still the victims, because if they're in the other room when the violence is taking place, they're affected by it. If they see bruises the next day, they're affected by it. If they're observing the dynamics of the relationship, they're affected by it. When they see their mother crying after something happens, they're definitely affected by it. So we have made a focus to try and help children involved in these relationships, because they're affected, and domestic violence can affect the children emotionally, behaviorally, socially, and physically. I've got some stats here I'm going to give you about children in domestic violence, where it says here about 7 million American children live in homes with ongoing severe domestic violence, including beatings, burnings, use of weapons, rape, and sexual abuse. 50% of men who assault their wives also abuse their children. Research shows that 80 to 90% of the children living in homes where there is domestic violence are aware of the violence and witness it in some way. Yet when they interview those same parents, the parents had no idea knew anything was going on. More than 3/4 of the children exposed to domestic violence were involved in the event. They may have been the victim themselves, physically intervened, sought help by calling 911 or going to a neighbor, or been physically close to the mother or father while they were being abused. Research indicates that males exposed to domestic violence as children are more likely to engage in domestic violence as adults. Research also indicates that females exposed to domestic violence as children are more likely to be victims. Armed with this knowledge, what we have decided, so we decided to focus not only on adults, but on children, and really focus on the children. And by doing that, this year, since we focused on children this year, what we've been able to do is, many of the cases that we handled this year, 10 of the cases in fact, were involving children. We provided counseling for 5 children, like I previously mentioned. We created a dating violence seminar geared towards high school aged children. Next year, I hope, even though I'm not the president, I hope to push for it, and I'm sure Christine Boulos will as well, why we hope to continue our push to give free counseling, especially to children, focusing on children. And we also want to develop a seminar on how domestic violence affects children, how to recognize it, and what to do when you see it. We hope to continue our focus on children because if we can advocate, if we can educate, and we can empower, then hopefully the children that we advocate for, educate, and empower, hopefully we can prevent them, maybe, just maybe, from becoming a statistic. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. No matter how many times I hear the stats, it always affects me. So as a litigator and walking into court, we represent a lot of these individuals, and it's really hard to understand what it takes day in and day out to represent the interests of people that are very vulnerable and are dealing with such significant issues that some of us have been blessed never to face. But one of the reasons that I'm so proud to be a co-founder of Are You Safe is that we've been able to touch so many people, but we would never be able to do that without our gracious volunteers. And we are here today to really recognize our volunteers and some of the amazing work that they've done. Are You Safe cannot function without the generous contributions that are made by our volunteers, by the volunteer attorneys. Pro bono work serves the administration of justice. It ensures meaningful access to the justice system. And it provides legal representation to those that could not otherwise afford it. It certainly improves public perception, or improves the public perception, rather, of attorneys. And I'm proud of this profession, and I'm proud to be able to stand here and say that I represent many men and women in court, defending them and making sure that they have a voice in court. Very much like many of our pro bono attorneys that have spent numerous hours. And to some of you guys, you may not think, 10 hours, that's nothing. 20 hours. But when you're in private practice or you're working for a big firm and you really can't dedicate that amount of time because it's taking away from billable hours or your family, it's very difficult. So this year, I'm very proud to recognize one of our pro bono attorneys for her countless hours of free legal services that she's provided to victims of domestic violence. This individual has been extraordinary.
Okay, so I'm very excited about this individual. She came to us last December. And when we talk about victims calling at random times or 10 hours, it could be at 10:30 at night, and this woman is picking up the phone and she will coach them through. So it may be a 45-minute phone call with a victim who is freaking out or who doesn't know what to expect when they go into their injunction hearing, but she's there constantly coaching and helping and supporting and advocating. I'm sorry I'm emotional, but she's so awesome. This attorney in particular has provided thus far since December 229 hours of pro bono hours.
Good job.
Okay? She's handled 13 of our cases since December. When we talk about children, she has taken the majority of our cases involving children because that's who she wants to advocate for the most. As Jason mentioned, those become the unheard victims. They're the ones that people oftentimes overlook because we're looking at the one with the bruises. We're not seeing the one behind closed doors. So what Sissy Sevlin has done is advocated for those children. And for example, we work very closely with Solutions Counseling, which Robin Foster is our mental health counselor for our children, so she's fantastic. And what she does in particular is she works down the hall from me, and we had 2 kids that came in, and there were, they lived with mom, and there was extensive abuse in the house. And dad, who lived in another home, had no idea. But they were court ordered to do counseling. They come in, they meet with Robin, and all of a sudden Robin comes into my office and she's like, these kids need help. And when I say they need help, there is, some people don't understand bad behavior, I suppose. I don't know how to articulate it in a nice way, but a boyfriend chases children around with a knife and thinks that it is funny and that there's nothing wrong with that. He will kick and punch them to wake them up for school in the morning. The kids are so mortified that at 13 and 10, they are still having problems using the restroom. They'll hold it in. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of fear. And this is what happens growing up oftentimes in a home filled with domestic violence. Now, dad comes in, we get him help, Sissy's on the case, and those kids are no longer in the home. Those kids immediately went to live with dad, court ordered. Stuff like this happens, and we can ensure their safety because of our amazing volunteers. So this year, we want to thank Sissy Skipper, Sevlin, my apologies, she was just married in May. Sorry, Rob. But we do want to thank her tremendously for all her effort, for all her work, and for all her dedication. Woo! And a round of applause for our assistant. Oh, yeah.
You almost made me cry, and I never cry.
It's the hormones, okay?
Sissy, you really have been amazing. You really have. I know that it's very hard to go home sometimes after you work with your clients and the victims and you advocate for them, but you've done an amazing job. So a heartfelt thank you for everything that you do for Are You Safe, because I know that not only does she volunteer for Are You Safe, she has volunteered for Bay Area Legal Services and Crossroads for Florida Kids, Guardian Ad Litem, and Juvenile Diversion Program. So you truly are an amazing woman. So thank you. We also have some attorneys that are contract attorneys that have done amazing work for us, and unfortunately I did get a call. Saeed here, I believe he could not at times, he had a family emergency. But I'd like to mention, as Jason did, and kind of reiterate that sometimes our volunteer attorneys are very busy with their schedule, and whether they're working for a big firm or they're solo practitioners, it's very hard to take a case. And Are You Safe thought, how can we guarantee that a victim is always represented in court? And we have a number of contract attorneys that we pay pennies in comparison to the work that they do. And we consider them to be the advocate of the year, and that would be Saeed Ahmed, and he's done an amazing job in really representing the interests of our victims in court and met Mitchum throughout the last year. And while they couldn't be here, I'd like to at least thank them and let them know that we truly appreciate everything that they do for us.
Okay, so the next part of our program, which Jason introduced, is our education program. Our next recipient, or award recipient, joined us last summer. She herself is a survivor of domestic violence, and not even just, you can't help but hear what she has to say and not feel empowered when you leave the room. She is a published author now, self-published. I really would, this is a shameless plug, but I do recommend, if you want to really understand the dynamic of domestic violence, how it impacts your life, and then what you are capable of doing after, you go read Valerie Miller's book. Valerie is all about just positive energy. Everything that she does is about empowering her audience. So for example, a lot of her seminars now, she deals with young women, anywhere from 12 years old, women well into their 50s, who don't want to talk about domestic violence, who don't want to talk about their relationships, who don't think that they can. And I can tell you, we send out these evaluations that go out to the people that we speak to, and they can reply back with any of their feedback. It helps us understand what we can do better. Hands down, everyone is always moved. Everyone leaves just a little bit happier, just a little bit more positive. I can't tell you how many people will pull her aside to just be like, this is exactly what I'm going through, and I never could say anything about it. Some of her seminars are focusing, a lot of it, which is really great, is looking specifically at women who've been abused and looking at the queen within. For the young girls, for teenagers, when we talk about teen dating violence, the princess within. So making sure that you can do something after all of this. I don't even know, there are not enough words to talk about Valerie and to say what a pleasure it is to work with her, and how much it means to have her with us, because we really are a better organization because of people like Valerie and like Sissy. So, we appreciate you. Okay, and last but not least, we are the organization that we are in big part because of our board of directors. And we just wanted to take a moment to thank our board for everything that y'all do, for the hours that you put in, for whether it's helping organize a function or fundraising or taking on an educational seminar, because our board gives these seminars as well. Our board is out in the community. Our board takes on these cases. So we wouldn't be who we are today without our board as well. So I just want to take a moment to thank our board of directors. Thank you guys again for all your hard work and dedication. So thank you. Hey, Eliana.
And unlike any other year, I thought, since we've had a lot of dedicated board members / attorneys that have provided endless hours, and we're talking about the board members working, we're talking about not 20, 30 hours, but really developing a program that's significant and that provides such significant legal services. So each board member throughout the last 6 years has provided a lot of hours. And I really, truly am grateful that I've had the opportunity to work with such amazing people the last couple of years, because in the inception of Artists Safe, we probably dedicated 500-600 hours to the organization yearly within the last 6 years, and that's because we wanted to. But I feel that as part of the Purple Party, compelled to really thank you because we would not be where we are today without the board members. So again, it's a heartfelt thank you for everything that you do and the hours that you spend, whether it's speaking to a victim in intake, speaking in an outreach program, which we do frequently, attending an event as a face of Are You Safe, or just promoting what we do. I think that we have to acknowledge, because we're a working board, we're very small, that everything that you do every day is quite significant and it does save a life. So thank you.
All right, so we want to recognize Natalie Baird. Okay, next up, John Corso for 5 years. Okay, and Corey Baird for 6 years.
I didn't know you wanted me to walk up. I'm sorry. Thank you so
John,
much.
everyone.
I appreciate it. Eliana, you're fantastic.
Yeah. All right, Jason Falkenberg for 6 years of dedication. Okay. Christine Durr for nearly 2 years. Kristen DeMayo for nearly 2 years. And Joseph Marshburn for over a year of dedication. Okay. All right, and I know that you're going to be shy, but we're also going to recognize Miriam Falkenberg. For 6 years of dedication.
And Kristen DeMayo?
Already did.
No, for the next section. Sorry. I'm following my script. I can't help it.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Very nice.
All right,
That's the
well,
next section.
I get the pleasure of acknowledging our sponsors for this evening, the Bank of Tampa, Tico, Shoemaker, Loop and Kendrick, Hess Spinal, the Galley and Mata family, Kristen Ullman, Brian Bursa, Danahy and Murray, Account Tax and Payroll, the Cortez Haas Family Law and Mediation, Amber Bowles, the estate of Marilyn Brimhall, and to Kim and John Thresher, particularly for the Brett Favre and baseball items that you'll see on the table back here. So be sure to check those out. So if we can please give all of our sponsors a big round of applause. Please know that as everyone on the board, we truly appreciate all of your support. We could not provide the victims with legal and mental health services if it was not for your generosity. Thank you.
All right, hi everyone. I'm Christine Durr. I'm on the board of Are You Safe? I've been involved with Are You Safe though for several years. I'm a family law attorney, and that's how I got involved, doing injunctions, volunteer work. And I love the organization. I love how it makes me feel to volunteer for the organization. And if there are any family law or other attorneys out there who are interested in being a volunteer, please contact any one of us and we'll make sure that you get on our list. I'm involved with Are You Safe because I enjoy helping victims of domestic violence. And over the time that I've been involved with the organization, I've seen it really grow and blossom. And since Christine Boulos has been involved over the past year or so, it's really blossomed and it's wonderful. And we're here today celebrating our volunteers, of course, but we're also here because we're here to ask for your support. we are a working board, as Miriam has said, a small board. We operate really on a shoestring, but we do need money to keep things going so that we can do the things that we do. When I was a volunteer attorney, I needed the support of Are You Safe sometimes for witnesses, for subpoenas. We sometimes, if we have, like Miriam mentioned, sometimes we have to use our contract attorneys, and Syed and Matt Mitchum do a terrific job at a rock bottom price. We have brochures, mental health counseling, we put on seminars. Of course, Christine Boulos, who we could not do without, we have to pay her a salary so that she'll stay with us. And it's not as much as we would like, I can tell you that. Corporate pamphlets and many other things that I can tell you, I can assure you that your money, the money that you donate to Are You Safe is very cautiously guarded and well spent. But we do need your support, and we appreciate you being here today.
Get out your checkbooks and $10,000 checks we accept. Not kidding. No, I'm joking, but I'm not joking, but I just want to say, like, this is top notch. Every year it gets better. You guys have done an amazing job this year. I took a sabbatical, which was kind of nice. I got to mingle for the first time, but I want you all to know that this is, most of you know this is a very important cause to me. I'm a survivor of domestic violence. It's 18 years this year. Thank you. And I would like you all in the audience, by a show of applause, if you have been a survivor, or you are a survivor, or you have a family member a survivor, to please applaud. And I don't know if you heard the noise factor, but when you guys applause for me and you applause there wasn't much of a difference, to be honest. 1 in 3 women, 1 in 7 men are victims of domestic violence. We are here to make those numbers lower. We are here to make a change. And we can't do that without you guys helping us. The volunteers, they do a tremendous amount of work for us, and it's free. But they need cost. They need witnesses. They need psychologists to come in and testify. They need guarding of items that cost money to come in and testify for the kids. I can't tell you how many injunctions we've had related to kids. And if anybody is in this room that's an attorney and thinks it's easy to get y'all hearsay in, think again. It is very, very hard to get an injunction for a child. And the children are the ones that are next generation. And we don't want domestic violence repeated. And that's why we're here. So again, get out your checkbook and write us a $10,000 check if you have it. If it's $1, we will take it. Because $1 will buy a piece of paper that we can make a copy to hand out a brochure to someone to tell them about our organization so that we can help others. So we will accept any amount. And I always joke about the money. I'm always doing the ask, but I truly believe in this passion. We make this works because it's collaborative, and we can't do it without you guys. So I appreciate you guys coming tonight and supporting us, because I can't believe it's been 6 years. I can't believe it's been 6 years, but and next year is going to be even bigger. Maybe we'll go nationwide one day. I know I have great ambitions, but that's Natalie Baird, as everybody knows. So, but I truly appreciate it, and thank you.
Thank you again. And the auction closes at 7:20. We'll extend it 7:25. Please look around, bid on the auctions, have a drink, enjoy the camaraderie. Don't leave just because our program's done. I'd love to mingle and really talk to everyone. So have a good evening. Thank you again.